Hey guys! So today's video we're going to learn a little bit about the citizenship test for becoming a United States citizen. So for this test, the questions are mainly focused on two parts. US history is the first, and how the government is structured is the second. Some of this you might already know from your social studies and history classes, but I'm going to review some of the important topics anyway. While we're reviewing this information, all of the super important facts that you need to know for the quiz at the end will be highlighted in yellow, so make sure you keep that in mind. Alright, let's get started with some quick facts about the US history, starting from our founding fathers and the founding of our country. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and it was adopted July 4th, 1776, which is why July 4th is American Independence Day. The Constitution, which is known as the supreme law of the land, was written around 10 years afterwards in 1787. The first president of the United States was George Washington. That should be an easy one. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. One of the scariest periods in modern history was the Great Depression and World War II. The president that led us through this was Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was the only president to serve for 4 terms. A few decades following World War II, during the Civil Rights Movement, where people fought for equal rights, Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the most well-known figures for fighting for civil rights. Okay, now let's review the next major part of the citizenship test, how the government is structured. The government was formed when the Constitution was written in 1787, and it acted as a document which framed the structure of our governments and established different rights to our citizens. The Constitution's first 3 articles illustrate the idea of separation of power, where the government is divided into 3 major branches: the executive, legislative, and judiciary. Each branch exists to keep the others in check and also to serve a very different purpose. Let's look at the executive branch first. This branch is led by the president. It also contains his vice president and cabinet of advisors. One of the president's major duties is to sign bills into laws. In addition to signing bills, the president also has the ability to veto bills, which is one of the major aspects of the checks and balances system, keeping the legislative branch in check. The president is also the commander-in-chief of the military, meaning he's the supreme commander of the armed forces. A president serves a term of 4 years every time he's elected, and presidential elections happen in the month of November every 4 years. If the president can no longer serve the office, his vice president takes over. If the vice president cannot serve, the next in line is the Speaker of the House. There's a long list of people who follow the line of succession after the Speaker of the House, but luckily, we've never come anywhere close to needing it, so we won't be going over it in this quiz. Now, let's look at the legislative branch. This branch consists of Congress, which is made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Congress's main purpose is to pass laws, but to also vote on other important matters pertaining to the government, such as the budget or war efforts. The House of Representatives is the first voting body in Congress. The House consists of 435 members who vote. This number is determined based on the population of each state that the representatives are from. When a representative is elected, they serve for 2 years per term. The other voting body is the Senate. Each state has 2 senators, and they have a total of 100. Each senator is elected for a term of 6 years. The final branch is the judiciary branch, which contains the Supreme Court, which is responsible for upholding the Constitution and interpreting different laws to decide on how to abide by them. The Supreme Court is also the highest court in the country. The Supreme Court consists of 9 justices. They are nominated by the president, and then they are confirmed by the Senate. So that's how the government is structured. The other thing I want to go over real fast is the amendments and the Bill of Rights. Amendments are changes or additions to the Constitution. This way, the government can always change things over time to reflect the current modern landscape. When the Constitution was first created, James Madison studied the deficiencies in the Constitution and proposed to add certain changes. These first 10 amendments were known as the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment, arguably one of the most important ones, guarantees freedom of speech to all citizens and non-citizens of the United States. During the present day, there are now currently 27 amendments. The United States is a 2-party system. That means there are 2 major political parties in the US. but currently they are the Democratic and Republican parties. That's it. Now you know some brief history and how the government is structured, and some facts about the Constitution. You're already more knowledgeable than a lot of people in the United States. Now, do you want to test your knowledge on what you learned? Make sure you know all the facts that I highlighted in yellow. If you don't, you can always repeat the video or go back to certain spots. Now let's see if you can pass a citizenship test.